Good evening, folks. This is the Factivist Report for Sunday, the 30th of October, one night before Halloween. But the Republican nightmare has been going on now for some time. And here's Dave.
Yes, and in the tradition of Halloween, last Halloween, we did the horror show that was James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. Now we're kind of doing a beef stew of nightmares, I guess, of all different sorts of social media sources. We have Right Side Broadcasting Network. We have Twitter, which was just bought by Elon Musk, and we're starting to see the hate from that. We have Parler and we have Gab. I left True Social out for now. We'll see where that goes. Maybe we'll do that next year if it's still around. I'm hearing it's floundering and it's having its own problems. So we'll see where that goes. But
Bet you Devin Nunes is happy he gave up his political career to run that big shithole.
But wait, you know, we have to be aware of all violence towards all people, right? Right there, Deb.
Yeah. By the way, I will be doing probably a more in-depth look at social media and how the right wing is actually buying up a lot of social media.
Yeah.
And the intent is clear. You know, if you're not seeing the intent is to control the narrative, then you're not paying attention. Okay.
This is kind of a dummy's guide to it, a kind of an introduction to it, and just kind of a who's who, you know, just a very, very light covering of it for now. I don't think that many people know about Right Side Broadcasting Network. I didn't really know about it. What I will say is that one of the great things about social media is that if you get enough people that you can trust and enough people who have been in the business, whether it be advertising business or government or whatever, like of Ron Filipkowski, he was the one that introduced me to Right Side Broadcasting Network and had me even think about doing this. One thing about censorship or whatever you want to say, or saying, hey, you're setting rules, let's just put it that way. Sometimes maybe you don't see how vile people are in the beginning. Maybe that's the start. And what the right wing loves to tell you is that the First Amendment doesn't really cover hate speech. There's no such thing as hate speech. And now, that's crap. We all know what hate speech is.
Yeah, we see
hateful speech directed towards one group or one person, and something. A lot of times it leads to a threat. A lot of these companies that I'm going to cover, you have someone in at the top who is anti-Semitic. You know, you have you have Kanye West, who's talking about buying Parler, anti-Semitic comments. You have Parler and Gab, anti-Semitic comments, saying that, you know, there is no such thing as hate speech. You can say whatever you want, which gives them free reign to say hateful, racist, bigoted things, whether it be against Black people, whether it be against, you know, whoever, gay people.
The owner of Gab is particularly heinous, actually.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit into it. Yeah. But let's see here. So let's start here. I always start with Christina Pushaw, because when it comes to speech and rhetoric and propaganda, because to me, this is the right-wing plan. This Christina Pushaw is the right-wing plan in a nutshell. very simple. We're right, you're wrong. Everything you do, we'll direct it back to you. Even if you're doing the exact same thing we're doing, we're right because we're us. You're wrong. The left is radical. We are righteous. We are righteous. We are good. We are Christians. We are blah, 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 blah. That's
By the way, Christina Pushaw is currently Ron DeSantis's rapid response coordinator for his
right.
campaign. But she was a Russian
propaganda, yeah. She's basically his press secretary, but yeah, rapid response, whatever the hell.
That's what he's calling her while he's running for office. And, you know, when he's done with that, he'll name her something else. But he'll never call her a fucking propagandist, that's for sure.
Hold on one second. I don't want anybody to accuse me of not being able to present because I'm coughing. Hold on. Can I just say that the attack on Fetterman is unconscionable?
Yeah, it is.
The man's doing his job. Can we stop, please? But anyway.
They won't.
They won't.
Don't even bother even appealing to them because they have no soul.
Well, no, I'm appealing to the people who are actually watching it. Can we stop listening to these people? But I don't know if they're going to. So this just goes, this is the Southern Poverty Law Center, talks about what threats are protected speech under the First Amendment. Basically, there has to be a reasonable it has to be reasonable that the threat is real and that you're going to follow through with the threat. You know, it's that time and true. It's almost cliche at this point. You know, Deb, I could kill you. You know, that kind of thing. That's not a reasonable threat.
Right.
You know, if someone has a hammer in their hand and says, I'm going to bash someone's head in on YouTube, yeah, that's a credible threat.
Right.
Okay. Now, this is from 5 years ago, and this has actually been quoted a lot. I believe the guy from Gab has quoted this too. There's no hate speech exception to the First Amendment. But remember, the First Amendment grants this. It has to do with government controlling speech, not private businesses, which is why you have these guys buying up all these social media companies.
Right.
Just understand.
For example, today, oddly enough, Matt Couch, who made a really sketchy remark about Paul Pelosi and the attack on Pelosi, apparently has been taken off Twitter, which is amazing to me considering that the shitbag bought it and has already started spreading his own pack of lies about it. We'll see how long that lasts. Right.
And we'll get to that at the end. But here's just a few, here's a list of a few threats and attacks on members of Congress, you know, over the past years. Yeah, you had the shooting of Gabby Giffords. You had the most recent one, Paul Pelosi, getting hit in the head with a hammer. By the way, the right wing has no shame. I'm not going to go through all the things that they said. I'm not. You know, all the rumors and all the nonsense. We'll talk a little bit about it. Also, for you to say that something is horrendous and blah blah blah, and this must be stopped, and about crime and all that garbage. You know what? You can't even start. You can't even reprimand your own president. Mitch McConnell could not stand up to Donald Trump when Donald Trump called his wife racist names. Okay, and gave him a death threat, basically. Now it's failed. The right wing is very good in veiled threats, honestly. A Pennsylvania man pleaded guilty to threatening to shoot and kill an unarmed member of Congress.
Unnamed.
So this is Joshua Hall of Mechanicsburg. Is this Pennsylvania or Virginia? I don't know. So recently, Lee Zeldin, a man climbed on stage and allegedly tried to stab him. Zeldin wasn't harmed. Attacker was arrested. Then you had January 6th is in here. January 2nd, Mitch McConnell's home in Kentucky was vandalized and spray painted with messages including "Where's my money?" And there's a bunch of others. Nancy Pelosi has had threats and had slander on her for like 10 years. So there's a list more of that. And for her to put up with that is a testament to her. And I hope, despite the fact that he was convicted of driving while intoxicated, I believe it was DWI. I'm not sure if it was DWI. It was DUI. It was driving under influence. Okay, so the man had a DUI. He should not get a death sentence for that. Do we understand that? So
there's a lot of false equivalency out there in social media land too. You know, somehow they managed to bring the whole Paul Pelosi thing around to Ashley Babbitt again. And I actually made a video earlier today. I'll put a link. I'll link the video in this
right
also. And
they brought it back to Ashley Babbitt. They brought it back to the disgusting, lack of law enforcement because of the Democrats. They brought it back to, all that kind of thing, to rumors about him. Stop. So this is a pretty good article. This is Stephen Lee Myers and Shira Frankel from the Times. They're just talking about now how difficult it is to mine through information with all the garbage out there. It used to just be 2 social media sites. Now you have all sorts of stuff. You have True Social, you have Gab, you have Parler, you have all this. BitChute, all of it, all over the place. So on the morning of July 8th, former President Donald J. Trump took to True Social, a social media platform he founded with people close to him, to claim that he had in fact won the 2020 presidential vote in Wisconsin, despite all evidence to the contrary. And again, I in the short video, I could put that source in there too. There's something called truth by repetition. You say it enough times, people are going to start believing it. Like, this guy isn't going to say it all this time, if it's not at least partially true. And by the way, it's not partially true. It's not true. But you say it enough times, somebody's going to believe it. So, Mr.
Nobody ever thinks about saying, prove it.
Exactly.
You know, in order for that to be true, you have to be able to show people data. I'm sorry, folks, but if his lips are moving, he's fucking lying. That's just the way he is.
Yet Mr. Trump's basis claim pulsed through the public consciousness anyway, which is what propaganda does. Again, you repeat it enough times, somebody's going to believe it. It jumped from his app to other social media platforms, not to mention podcasts, talk radio, and television. And within 48 hours of Mr. Trump's post, more than 1 million people saw his claim on at least a dozen other sites. It appeared on Facebook and Twitter, from which he has been banished, but also YouTube, Gab, Parler, and Telegram.
So here's part of the problem. A lot of people are watching that website, that social media site, Truth, whatever it is.
Truth Social.
Truth Social. And coming back onto Twitter to show people what he's saying. They're not necessarily agreeing with what he's saying. But every time you do that, it gives people the opportunity to spread it. And personally, I don't ever go to Truth Social and take his posts and show them on Twitter. I just don't. I have not been to Truth Social. I have no intention of going to Truth Social and sharing anything anywhere that anyone says there.
I went to Truth Social just to see who was on there. There was one person that I know why he's there, and he's there to to fight the narratives, and that is Gavin Newsom.
Right.
And I followed him and I left. I haven't been there probably since that day. And you're right. By the way, this is what Howard Stern did back in the day. He said a bunch of stuff that upset a bunch of people, and then, despite whether they liked it or not, it was so outrageous that they talked about it. That's all these guys want.
Yep.
Is for this to be talked about.
Donald Trump doesn't care if you give him negative attention. Any attention for him is good.
And again, how Trump, and this is from Reuters, how Trump's Pied Pipers rallied a faithful mob to the Capitol. Now, this is Right Side Broadcasting Network. Weeks before mobs besieged the Capitol building in Washington, a bright red bus crisscrossed the United States, emblazoned with a huge image of President Donald Trump in suit and tie with a clenched fist above his shoulder. Now, you had a giant bus there, okay, and more than 25 stops in parking lots and airplane hangars in states including Arizona, Georgia, Louisiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So you have a flight attendant turned political activist, Amy Kramer, and other speakers exhorted crowds to join her in Washington to fight for Trump and overturn the stolen election. So we have March for Trump. We're here to save the republic. We're not going to back down, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this... We're talking the Right Side Broadcasting Network. I believe they were saying that Trump was basically advertising this thing that was going to happen on January 6th in December. So you cannot say they didn't know. You cannot say they were just
responding to the election.
To the election.
They weren't, because the Roger Stone video that was released by the DOJ showed him talking about this months before the election. That's bullshit. That's a lie.
So here's all the stuff about Kramer and her organization. This is the My Pillow. Freaking Mike Lindell was involved in this. Now, what they basically say is that Right Side Broadcasting, here we go. The rallies were covered from start to finish by the Right Side Broadcasting Network, a right-wing media venture with close ties to Trump. It was started as a Trump-supporting YouTube network by Joe Seals, who describes himself as a stay-at-home dad, who, by the way, happened to also work for Glenn Beck. So I don't know, just saying. I believe he worked for the Blaze, pretty sure. But so this is where we're going with the Right Side Broadcasting Network. They are kind of like that cheerleading YouTube crowd. So, and after everything, they were talking about creating a pro-Trump network, like Trump TV.
Jesus.
They kind of poo-pooed that, but now what they're doing is that they're putting on they're interviewing all of the pro Trump candidates and the candidates that Trump has endorsed, and interviewing them and talking to them and talking to Lauren Boebert and talking to all these guys. And it has grown the network. Now, this is some of the we talked about. I think we talked about this before. Okay. And I believe this is what Sarah was talking about too. GOP lawmaker calls on vigilantes to film and follow voters to combat unproven ballot mules. And this is what we're talking about with Dinesh D'Souza did this movie called 1,000 Mules.
2,000.
2,000? Was it 2,000?
2,000 mules, however. They're all a bunch of jackasses. I just can't. 2,000 mules.
I have been so pleased to hear about you vigilantes out there that want to camp out at these drop boxes. Senator Kelly Townsend said at the end of a nearly 2-hour legislative hearing by True the Vote, and we've talked about True the Vote too. That was from that Texas, Karen Engelbright, I think was her name. Conservative group that supports restrictive voting laws to combat what it says is massive voter fraud. We're going to have hidden trail cameras. We're going to have people parked out there watching you, and they're going to follow you to your car and get your license plate. So don't try it. Don't try it anymore. By the way, that's doxing.
By the way, that's a threat. And by the way, let me just say this also. I believe that in Arizona, I read it in some Arizona newspapers I actually subscribe to, that they have asked the Department of Justice to investigate the people who made 2,000 mules. So,
yep. And yes, it was 2,000 mules. Sorry, I underestimated it by 1,000.
Yeah, there's more jackasses than 200. There's a lot of jackasses on the right.
And let's not forget that the guy who created the 2,000 mules, he was pardoned by Trump.
He was
for election crime.
Yep.
For an election crime.
Yep.
And he pled guilty to it too. So he admitted that he did it. He admitted that he knew it was illegal, and Trump pardoned him. So he got off. And now Trump, that's why he's one of the people that supports the election lie about Trump, because he's backing Trump because Trump pardoned him. I mean, there's so many different reasons of why people are supporting Trump, and they're all dirty. It's all for quid pro quo. Trump is the quid pro quo man, and he has mastered it. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. So we have DC's deplorables go job hunting. This is more.
By the way, let me just say this. Hillary Clinton was fucking right. Okay. In fact, I think deplorable might be a little bit mild at this point. I could think of some other words for them.
So, Sarah, you were talking about the deplorable. So there it is right there. So there you go.
Deplorable, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had the Kenosha shooter. He was in attendance. Tina Peters, Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Jesus.
Louis Gohmert, Sebastian Gorka, Lauren Boebert, Newsmax host Grant Stintfield,
Yep.
Dennis Prager, Charlie Kirk, Mike Flynn. Oh yeah.
So here we go. We have a
Kevin
few others.
Rose.
You didn't mention any of the ones in here. Hold on. So organized by grassroots organization MAGA 3X, presently run by men's rights self-help poster boy Mike Cernovich. I mean, God have mercy. Citizens for Trump bullshit purveyor Jack Posobiec and meme warfare advocate, you mentioned Jeff Garcia, I think. The 1,000 person event attracted many of the living brands associated with the so-called alt-right. Radio host Bill Mitchell gave an interview at a cocktail table. Disgraced pharma goblin Martin Scratch, who wrote that? This is great. Skulked through the halls. Gasea's former boss Peter Thiel, who by the
I think is this the deplorable or is this the 2000? I'm talking about the 2000 mules.
No, this is deplorable.
Yeah, but they had I'm talking about the 2000 mules ball.
Oh, okay. Well,
where they were like showing the like a private screening to all of his closest allies, and like Tina Peters, Rudy Giuliani. So yeah, look up the 2000 mules and Trump at Mar-a-Lago, nonetheless.
So there you go, Deb. Mitchell, Right Side Broadcasting, and the Gateway Pundit.
Yeah.
Attended to prove their willingness to provide favorable. So you kind of get the idea of what we're dealing with. Now, this is just an example of what these guys do, Right Side Broadcasting Network, who they're backing and who they are interviewing. Oz. They interviewed Dr. Oz.
No, he's not. We changed his name. He's Dr. Ooze. OOZE now.
And apparently he's back in Trump's good graces now that he's kind of, sliming his way back closer to potentially getting the Senate seat. So here you go. This is Gab now. Multiple Republican politicians running ads on Gab, a haven for white nationalists. So here is a list of right-wingers who use Gab. We have Herschel Walker. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Jared Sessler for Congress. I'm one of us. Okay.
Yeah, you're one of us, all right.
Paul Gosar.
Yeah.
There you go. Democrats tried to sue me off the ballot. Show me your support.
His whole family's trying to get him off the fucking ballot. They think he's a lunatic.
There we go. Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I know that guy. He's a radio jackass. I can't remember his name right now. There you go. Maybe she'll aim at herself. Kathy Barnett. I know that name. So okay. Right. So join us for the last event before Election Day. Meet and greet with Kathy Barnett, candidate for U.S. Senate, with special guest Jack Brewer, former Philadelphia Eagle and Trump White House appointee in Scranton. I am you. Let's fix Pennsylvania. Okay.
Yeah, let's fix it. We'll fix it all right.
Yeah. So that was just a, an idea of these guys. So,
And as you know, I took the Factivist project off of Gab and
Yep.
off of BitChute because those two sites, honestly, they're too far gone to retrieve at this point.
yeah.
And I just can't be associated with any of the nonsense that goes on there.
So I'm going to go back just for a second. This is a Business Insider, just an inside look at the guy who started Right Side Broadcasting. His name is Joe Seals. They describe him as a stay-at-home dad between jobs who just started watching Donald Trump speeches. So he basically saw these speeches and saw that it was catching on, and he started to post them on YouTube. With broadcasting experience working with right-leaning figures like Glenn Beck, the Right Side Broadcasting Network CEO, and his business partner, Adam Taxon, a Florida reporter, decided they could easily broadcast Trump events, which were getting wall-to-wall coverage on cable networks. So basically all they're doing is they're taking these events, posting them on YouTube, and giving Trump more coverage, honestly. And then they went from there, and then they got quote-unquote reporters to interview these guys. Right Side Broadcasting Network has emerged as a tool for many Trump fans, along with journalists and campaign operatives. I use the word journalist loosely because these same quote-unquote journalists are encouraging people to follow people to the polls and make sure that they vote the right way. Kind of what got me started on Right Side Broadcasting Network in the first place. So we had Gab. I just did that one. So what is Gab? The far-right social media site that Google and Apple banned is still gaining thousands of new people after Twitter and Facebook deplatformed Trump. So the basic idea that Gab has is that there is no such thing as hate speech. All speech is free speech. That's their catchphrase. So,
but they've been suspended by a number of places.
They have been.
So,
since launching in 2016, Gab has been suspended by Stripe, PayPal, Amazon's cloud hosting services, Google's cloud platform, Apple's App Store, and former domain registrar GoDaddy over hate speech violations. And in 2018, the shooter of the Tree of Life Pittsburgh synagogue attack took to Gab to voice anti-Semitic rhetoric before killing 11 people. So right there, you cross that line.
yep.
That is obviously direct violence. So, and here is Gab. Gab CEO Andrew Torba broadcasts anti-Semitism across social media platforms. Again, he feels that all speech is free speech.
He's garbage too.
Yep. Make speech free again. So, Gab CEO Andrew Torba claims he is not an anti-Semite, but he tells a very different story via Gab's Twitter feed and his personal Gab account. On October 2021, Torba engaged in multiple anti-Semitic tirades on Twitter and Gab, posting and sharing a wide array of bigoted content. These posts, which had the potential to reach millions of people via Gab's 390,000 Twitter followers and Torba's 3.3 million Gab followers, promoted a range of anti-Semitic tropes such as Jews having dual loyalty to the U.S. and Israel, and the Jews are to blame for the crucifixion of Jesus, and that Jews control the U.S. government. So,
I hate to
Gab,
tell the people who were Christians this.
Yeah.
But I was raised Catholic. We were
Yep.
taught that the Jews are God's chosen people. So,
Yep.
you know what? Take that and stuff it sideways.
Gab, a self-described free speech platform, has a long history as a haven for anti-Semites, extremists, and conspiracy theorists. And we just talked about the 11 people who were killed at that Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018. He made numerous anti-Semitic posts on his Gab account in the weeks prior to the shooting. So that tells you, it kind of flags his behavior, and he did it. And not for nothing, I wouldn't be surprised if the families of those in the synagogue sued Gab. I wouldn't be surprised. 3 years later, anti-Semitic content persists on the platform, easily accessible within just a few clicks. Well-known anti-Semites like David Duke, Rick Wiles, and Nick Fuentes, your favorite asshole, maintain an active presence on the site.
I have so many favorite assholes in that favorite.
Gab's Twitter account was deactivated shortly after Torba's anti-Semitic tirade in mid-October 21. It was later reactivated around the end of November 2021. While it is not known why the account was taken down, Torba has deactivated Gab's Twitter account several times before and frequently deletes tweets. Torba's increasing anti-Semitism and toxic posts demonstrate not only his dedication to enabling hate on Gab, but also amplifying it on mainstream platforms like Twitter. And do not, be shocked when you start seeing him more and more on Twitter now that it's opened up again.
Right. Now that Elon Musk has bought Twitter.
Right. So I don't know if you just saw it, but guess who supported our friend here, Torba, two of our favorite politicians.
Wendy Rogers.
Yeah.
And Mark Fincham. Am I not surprised?
Yep. Mark Fincham and Wendy Rogers are honored to be endorsed by the Gab founder, a prominent anti-Semite. Mark Fincham, who is going to potentially be tasked with making sure that the Arizona votes are handled properly.
An election denier, by the way.
And he's also an election denier. And Wendy Rogers is just one of the most insane politicians that I have ever come across.
She is insane, but she's also a raging bigot.
She's a raging bigot also. Absolutely.
Insanity would be an excuse. Just like when people say the only reason Yee is talking the way he is because he's off his meds, that's bullshit. Yee is an anti-Semite and a bigot, okay? Being off your meds only makes that, more prominent.
I have to say, I have never been that kind of asshole. And from time to time, maybe I've been off my meds. Let's just put it that way. This guy was an asshole before. Kanye West, you can't you can't use it.
Excuses.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So speaking of, now we go to Parler.
There he is.
Parler was jubilant about Kanye West buying Parler, and then the problem started. Okay, so I know I kind of jumped the history, and there's some stuff that we have to talk about, but I had to lead with this. On the afternoon that Parler, a social media platform popular with conservatives, announced its acquisition by Ye, better known as Kanye West, the site emailed hundreds of VIP members to excitedly share the news. There were just two problems. Okay. Parler neglected to blind CC email addresses and inadvertently revealed the contact information of at least 10 lawmakers and many more conservative stars. The other problem.
That's even better because you're fucking stupid too, on top of everything else.
Exactly. The other problem, some of these VIPs had no clue why they were being labeled as such, confessing they had little to no association with the controversial app, let alone special status there. They didn't want anything to do with it. No. Why don't they not want anything to do with it? Well, this is part of it. U.S. panel asked FBI to review role of Parler in January 6th Capitol attack.
Well, maybe that's because everybody that participated in the Capitol attack pulled out their fucking cell phones and started to make themselves famous on social media.
Exactly.
I mean, how fucking stupid can you be? Pretty dumb.
And they were advertising shit on Parler too.
Yeah.
Reuters report.
By the way, let me just say this.
Yeah.
You know, for the people out there who don't understand what it takes to bring somebody up on charges in a legitimate court, not on the, not in the court of public opinion, it's easy to get the guys who broke into the Capitol when you have video. Okay. It's harder to get the Donald Trumps and the Mark Meadows because they do things behind the scenes. So get a clue. Okay.
Right. Representative Carolyn Maloney, who chairs the panel, cited press reports that detailed violent threats on Parler against state elected officials for their role in certifying election results before the January 6th attack that left 5 dead. She also noted numerous Parler users had been arrested and charged with threatening violence against elected officials or for their roles in participating in the attack. Reuters reported this week that Parler partially resumed online operations with the help of a Russian-owned technology company after being shut down by Amazon Web Services, which it said had failed to moderate violent content effectively. And by the way, most of these companies, most of these social media platforms have to be on a server somewhere. Maybe. You have somebody like Elon Musk that can afford his own server, but most of these guys are not going to be able to do that. So you have to have some kind of rules in place, because just because you allow it doesn't mean that your server company does. Just so you know.
Well, let's just say it again. The Russians to the rescue for obvious reasons. If anybody hasn't figured that out yet, then you're stupid too. How's that?
Right. So Maloney asked the FBI to review Parler's role as a potential facilitator of planning and incitement as related to the violence as a repository of key evidence posted by users on its site, and as a potential conduit for foreign governments who may be financing civil unrest in the United States. Also asking the FBI to review Parler's financing and its ties to Russia after she noted the company had reemerged. Now, we have this guy, John Matsey, okay? And this is from the Rolling Stone. He basically mirrored that whole thing about all speech is free speech. And then later on was fired by the board because he was afraid that Parler was going to be shut down again because of some kind of potential January 6th thing again. So he was trying to maybe ramp up just a little bit their protocol or their rules on speech, they fired him or they kicked him out, ousted him. Now, this is a letter. Apparently, they were talking about warnings it gave the FBI of the January 6th attack. Okay, I just thought it was interesting because I had heard long ago that, guys were planning this stuff on Parler. So I don't really understand this, but just know this did not happen in a vacuum. January 6th did not happen in a vacuum. And some of these companies were absolutely involved. Whether you had people planning it, like on Parler, or maybe even Gab, you also had guys who were filming things or promoting things on Right Side Broadcasting Network. This did not happen in a vacuum by any stretch of the imagination. Deb I would think that Deb probably has poured over more of the January 6th commission stuff than I have, but I know it's like, look, this was not a bunch of patriot-loving tourists. Okay, you need to stop with that.
Right.
Ashley Babbitt was not an innocent.
No, she wasn't going in to use the bathroom either.
No, she wasn't. She had a backpack on. She was going into the chamber that she thought people might still be in there, but they had already left. She was told to stop. She didn't, and she got shot. Okay, so here, okay. So we have, these are the people who helped with the relaunch of Parler. It's Rebecca Mercer. Okay, she orchestrated Parler's second act. That's her. Okay, she's a hardcore financier. She, and I don't know why that just did that, but I'll let it go for a minute. She has helped produce movies for our favorite propagandist of all time, Steve Bannon. She also has become a major financier on a lot of different fronts, and she also I'm trying to remember Ted Cruz. She helped finance Ted Cruz. I believe it was his presidential campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So understand she's a player in the financing of right wingers. Okay. Very gaudy color choice, but whatever.
Yeah, well,
but so there we go. Mercer, who's credited with helping getting Donald Trump elected in 2016, working to revive Parler, came back online last week with her new handpicked CEO, former Tea Party Patriots leader Mark Meckler at the helm. So these are the people, these are the players we're talking about. But I want to show you this because this shows like the funding infrastructure and the money of the whole thing. So we have the Mercers and we have Steve Bannon. Okay. And that actually, I saw that. So hold on. Yeah. So that it was a presidential bid of Cruz.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show you. There we go. Political donations by the Mercer family from 2008 to 2016. 15.5 million, Make America Number One. Freedom Partners Action Fund, 2.5 million. 2 million, Club for Growth Action. $2 million. American Crossroads, 1.8. Ending Spending Action Fund. The John Bolton Super PAC, $4 million. $800,000 for candidates. Okay. So, and this was helped by the ending of Citizens United, where she could do this. So there we go. Donation to think tanks and policy groups by the Mercer Family Foundation, 2008 to 2014. Citizens United, 3.6 million. Media Research Center, 13.5. $1 million to the Heritage Foundation, 3.7 to the Federalist Society, $2 million to the Government Accountability Institute, et cetera, $5 million to the Heartland Institute. Okay. Obviously, this woman has money. So there you go. So she has money to pour into Parler. So going back, I should have put this back here, but 5 things to know about Andrew Torba, which is Gab again. Sorry. So he's founder and CEO of Gab. He regularly uses Gab to promote anti-Semitism, right-wing extremist ideologies, and conspiracy theories. Long promoted the concept of Christian nationalism. Allied himself with extremists and far right-wing influencers. And over the last 2 years, Torba's worked to insert Gab himself and Christian nationalism into mainstream society and politics, primarily through relationships with elected officials and candidates. And right there, we have Doug Mastriano.
Yep.
And Kathy Barnett. So
very dangerous person.
Yes. So now we finally get to the social media platform of the hour, which is Twitter. As you all know, Elon Musk has bought it. The use of the N-word on Twitter jumped by almost 500% after Elon Musk take over as trolls test limits on free speech.
Amazing.
Report says. Now I know LeBron James complained about it. There have been a few other people that are complaining about it. My thing is, if you don't like it, you can always block the people who are using that speech. To me, if you leave this platform, if you leave Twitter, which has been a good platform to me for years, what good does it do you? If you use it all the time, I'm not going to leave the platform. I'll just block whoever.
Because I don't want to seed one more social media site
exactly
to the right wing. I mean, by the time we got to Gab and Bitch, it was already too far gone.
No, those are done.
Somebody needs to stand and fight. And, not necessarily to just block people. We need to fight back against this. I know I blocked Elon Musk myself this afternoon on one of my Twitter accounts, but not on all of them.
Right.
But we need to fight back against this shit. We just can't allow this anymore. Using the word, using the N-word and being anti-Semitic, that isn't free speech. That's hate speech. There's a difference.
And this eventually will lead to violence.
It will.
It will. What I'll say too is I'm no longer just blocking people who are talking garbage about about John Fetterman or Katie Hobbs or whoever, Kathy Hochul, who's in my state, I'm clapping back on it, and I'm using facts. Okay. If you're going to clap back, by the way, use facts, because they don't know what to do. They start to twitch, and especially Herschel Walker. But and again, racist tweets quickly surfaced after Musk closes the Twitter deal. So, So I'm going to talk about the Pelosi attack for a minute. Terrorism experts believe that hate speech and online extremism fed the Pelosi attack. Okay, Nancy Pelosi has been attacked for years now. And someone went into the home of Nancy Pelosi, broke into her home, looking for Nancy Pelosi, attacked her husband, smashed him in the head with a hammer, cracked his skull open. They were able to get cops there in time to save him. That's it. You don't need to know anything else. There is nothing else. None of the rumors coming, through Fox and all that garbage. None of that crap is true.
What is true is this guy posted prior to this attack all kinds of crazy shit about QAnon and a lot of other stuff that you would expect, someone who carries out an attack like this to post. They've tied it to him.
The problem now lies in who do you or can you blame in terms of social media, because there's so many hateful sites out there.
He also didn't, it wasn't just social media. He had a blog as well.
He had a blog himself. Yeah.
So he's been out there, and people have noticed it. And it's, again,
I want people to understand.
This is what happens when you indulge in stochastic terrorism. This is exactly what goes on.
Yep. By the way, we have people in Congress. We have, and I know people just dismiss her because we're like, well, she's not a real congressperson. She's in Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene has called for the execution of Nancy Pelosi. People listen to that.
And by the way, when people make those comments like Marjorie Taylor Greene, don't fucking kid yourselves. She knows that there are people out there who are weak-minded who listen to that. And they're doing it for a reason. I, just want to make one comment here. I want to know why on the 27th, she made a tweet that says, just wait until tomorrow. That's it. That was all it said. And on the 28th, Paul Pelosi was attacked. Now, I'm not the only person that noticed that. There have been several other people who have brought that up. Right. I'm not accusing her of anything. It just seems awfully weird because absolutely nothing fucking happened on the 28th but that.
It's extremely coincidental.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
and that's all it is right now because I have evidence of nothing, but it just seems weird.
Is that an evidence of direct threat? Absolutely not.
Nope. It isn't.
And also you got to think about January 5th and January 6th. She was the one that went to Twitter and said it's happening now, guys.
Yep.
Something's happening in 1776. She likes to tell people before an attack happens. I'm just saying she's 2 for 2.
Well, not for nothing. We had Steve Bannon. We had Alex Jones. We had the Right Side Broadcasting Network. We had Gab, and we had Parler announcing January 6th is going to be a big day. So, you know, for people, oh, that's just a coincidence. Give me a break. But yeah, I just find it extremely odd, or very coincidental, that she says that. And by the way, she is the one that is the purveyor. And I have a couple of articles too that I gave to Deb. I'll probably put them in here as sources. If you're interested in what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, in order to vote the woman out, she needs to go. Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to go.
You know what?
She really does.
Across the board here, we can eliminate this problem peacefully, without any violence, without any rhetoric. All you need to do is go to the polls and fucking vote. It's as simple as that. You know, I know maybe people don't consider this a, you know, number one problem. I don't know how you can't. I mean, again, that's to me, you know, some kind of failed thought process. I don't know how this can't be front and center in your mind, because once this democracy is gone, you are not getting any help from anybody on any issue. You need to understand that. And, you know, maybe Americans have had it too good here compared to other countries. You know, I think, you know, Joni Mitchell said it best. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You know what? You're looking at it right now, and if you're thinking you're going to fix it in 2024, it's going to be too fucking late. Okay? Just saying.
This is okay. So this is what we have to do. Not maybe at this level, because Judd Legum does have his resources to find more stuff out, but we have to clap back on these types of allegations. There was, you know, what was going on in that house, you know, that night? Judd Legum called it out. And by the way, Deb said apparently the tweets were taken down. Call it out. When somebody says, oh, you know, it's irresponsible to allow John Fetterman to run for public office, call it out. Call it out for what it is. John Fetterman
is the fucking
as lieutenant governor.
Okay?
Call it out.
Shut the fuck up. Okay?
When people call Katie Hobbs, say that, oh, well, she was too afraid to even talk to people. She was being accosted while she was trying to eat. Okay? And she was trying to get away. Probably didn't know who these people were. And she was trying to get away.
I'm sorry. I mean, I wouldn't talk to fucking Project Veritas either. They're not a legitimate news source. They're not a news source. I don't care what the people on the right call Project Veritas. You're not a news source when you create the fucking problem that you're covering. That's not a news source. That's an operative. Okay? He is not a news source. They are not a news source.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find that picture. I almost used this. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, this guy, let me see if I can find right there. Okay. This is who we're talking about. All right. Pimp O'Keefe. Oh, I don't want the video. God's sake. No, I don't want the video. Stop it. I don't want the video. Shut up. But James O'Keefe as a freaking pimp, okay? He's not a real reporter. He's an operative.
Right.
Okay? And for someone to, by the way, a real reporter would contact Katie Hobbs's press office or whatever and say, hey, can we speak to her? Blah, blah, blah. You know, not like freaking jump up and freaking scared the crap out of her as she's trying to eat. Okay, people do have a right to eat. Just so you know.
Without being accosted.
That's why you, I don't know, make an appointment.
That's
If you're
why
a
people have
real
press
reporter,
secretaries.
right there. Pimp O'Keefe. This is who we're talking about. God's sake.
That was during his Let's Set Up Planned Parenthood Day.
Well, that was Acorn, actually, but then Planned Parenthood was, they were the girl. There was a girl that was dressing up as a hooker,
Right.
and she went, So, but anyway, one more thing I want to mention to you. So we have people like Judd Legum and Ron Filipkowski and people like that and John Cooper and
Rick
JoJo
Wilson.
and JoJo from Jersey, okay, that are decent sources online because they actually show you sources. And here's another one. This is great, actually. The Midas Touch, they're fantastic. And this particular video, this is the Charlie Crist, debate where he just annihilated Ron DeSantis. And they have a few of these, like Mandela Barnes on Ron Johnson. And what I will say is that,
by the way, let's not forget that Val Demings took Marco Rubio over the polls too.
Yep, that's actually here. Now that's a local one. And I believe Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock is in here. They're kind of in the and there we go. The Marjorie Taylor Greene's in there too. I kind of put this off to the side because there were a lot of cool debates in here. YouTube has a cool feature now where you can hit debates, and they'll just show you all the different debates right now, right before the election. What I will say is that whereas debates are often a good indicator, sometimes there is an anomaly, and there is an anomaly with the Fetterman-Oz debate in that Fetterman is recovering from a stroke. He could still do the job, but he does have speech processing issues. So, of course, Fox News is having a field day with it, and you're having all of these types of social media platforms are also having a field day with it.
Because honestly, they got nothing else to run on.
No, they don't.
That's all the right wing does is smear people. They don't have any solutions to any problems. They're not presented any, and they just don't have any. They don't have any ability to govern.
Mr. Fetterman did present a medical note showing that he has no limitations other than the issues with speech recognition right now or processing. He can do the job. So they didn't really accept that.
Yeah,
and you know what? That's what most people have to do when they have to prove that they can do a job, is provide a medical documentation. And he did in a very timely manner.
So if you can believe, a guy like Ronnie Jackson, who gushed over the health of Donald Trump while he was the White House doctor, even though he was handing out opioids and taking so much Ambien, people weren't convinced that he could do the job as the White House doctor.
Right.
A slime ball like Ronnie Jackson, I'm pretty sure you can listen to Mr. Fetterman's doctor, because right. Ronnie Jackson, he's a piece of trash. Just saying.
For those of you, if you fall prey to the propaganda, which is Dr. Oz, you're going to pay for it. Just so you know. I don't know what else to say. it's a mistake to vote for Mehmet Oz. Right now, he's within the 3%. If Mehmet Oz actually wins, Pennsylvania loses, and we all lose because he's a U.S. senator at that point.
Yeah, and let me just say this: if you give the right-wing power back on a national level, it really
We're
won't
done.
matter what happens in the states. There will be no
Nope.
safe state. You need to understand that.
Yep.
Okay, women won't be safe anymore in Massachusetts, even if Massachusetts is completely blue, because the intent is to pass a law that outlaws a woman's right to choose on a national level. Once that happens, there is no safe state. Get a fucking clue, people. I mean it.
Oh, by the way, just to kind of put a button.
Are we going to kill the sharing? Or are we done now?
Yeah, I'm done. But hold on, where the hell am I? If I can. Oh, there it is. But stop it. There we go. But to button cap it, what were we just talking about? You threw me off with this dumb shit.
There'll be one, but there won't be any safe states.
Right. I mean, yeah, I there won't be.
And you know what they're going to give you is 2 years of a right-wing gulag hellscape, and then you're going to think you're going to be able to fix everything in 2024, and then you know what?
Right.
Might as well bend over and kiss your ass goodbye. That's the way it's going to work.
Yeah, and forget about stacking the court, or forget about rebalancing the court. Rather, sorry,
rebalancing the court. Forget about forget about looking into Ginny Thomas and Clarence Thomas. Forget about all of that. None of that's going to happen. The GOP is going to spend 2 years investigating the Democrats. That's what they're going to do, because then they won't have to legislate. And that way, Joe Biden won't be able to pass any more of his agenda. So if you're satisfied with where you are in the United States, you go on and vote for a Republican. Do whatever you got to do. I'm not looking at polls anymore. I'm done. We're too close to the election now for me to pay attention to any of that shit. We just need to move forward. I'm here to just give you information. I don't give a shit what the polls say anymore at this point. I'm done as of today. So have a nice time. Enjoy Halloween. Your nightmare is just beginning.
Exactly.
Welcome to your nightmare. We done?
Yeah, we're done.
I'm killing.
Yeah.
Talk to you all later.